The Shine on CX Show with Claire Bosk, illuminating the path to exceptional customer service.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Shine on CX Show tonight. I am absolutely buzzing to have the CEO or co-CEO of the Jersey Hospitality Association, Marcus. Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, how are you?
I'm excellent,
Good
excellent.
to be here tonight doing CX, and we're going to pronounce that very carefully.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Marcus, you and I, we share a little bit of we share a passion for hospitality, but also we share a baton. A couple of years ago, I decided to leave the island.
So only a couple of years ago?
I passed on a baton, and you took on that baton, haven't you?
You did certainly pass on a baton. It was in a full blazing baton. Yes, no, we do. So as you mentioned, you were sat there in the hot seat of the CEO of the Hospitality Association for a year. I'd parted my ways with the Hospitality Association for what I think is in the professional world called a sabbatical, and then Anna and myself have now been back in the role for two years now, which is extraordinary.
It's amazing. But you've always been in the hospitality industry, haven't you? You've grown up in that. Your parents had a restaurant. You've grew up in that industry. We've got that kind of same growing up in that. You either love it or hate it, don't you?
It's in the blood.
I
think my father spent most of my childhood telling me not to go into hospitality, and so as a true child you do exactly what your parents tell you not to do. So I went and did a degree in it. Anna also has a degree in it. We spent years away, and I moved back here in 2010. And I think a lot of people on the island probably think of me as a restaurateur. It was absolutely not what I was before I came back, but I think in our industry, it's built into your blood, it's in your DNA, and we love being with people. We love the art of hospitality. I'd grown up in my father's restaurant, pushing a dessert cart around and hiding behind a bar eating crisps, and it's part of the training, I guess, at that early stage.
I remember being in a restaurant in my dad's kitchen, and actually, those big whipped cream, the massive whipped cream.
Good fun.
Actually,
good fun.
Yeah. Just imagine. But you must have done that as well. I could tell. You knew exactly what I meant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is that passion? Why do you think that passion for service is in the people in the hospitality industry? There's a real there's something about doing something good, isn't it?
I think if we go back and we really dive into it, as animals, as humans, we innately care for each other. I think we energize ourselves off pleasing other people, and it comes down to that as an absolute basic. I think if you like interacting with other human beings and you like pleasing people, that's what we do on a daily basis. So this is not a complicated thing. Yes, sure, our industry is immensely complicated, and we have degrees in it. There's people who have PhDs in it, and by no means is it a low-skill industry, which I think is very confused by a lot of people a lot of the time. But it's about people, and it's about interaction, and it's about having a good time, and it's about making somebody's day better than they thought it was going to be. And we used to say at Cornell, we used to say life is service, and I think it doesn't matter whether you work in our industry or not in our industry. People have dinner parties in their house. That's making somebody feel good and expressing your hospitality for them. So it's what we do on a daily basis. And I think if you get a kick out of not knowing what's coming next, living life less structured than I think many kind of typical office type jobs are, being able to express yourself and be creative and enjoying interacting with each other, then that's what ticks the box in this industry. And traveling and learning and evolving. I was a manager of a hotel when I was 26, I think. And so again, you are able to move forward into that industry and do a lot more than some other industries. It's a very empowering way to grow. And I think hugely, as you mentioned, they're hugely international. So you can travel with it, and the skill set is completely transferable globally. And that is quite unique to our industry. If you train as an accountant in a country and you move to another country, the chances are you're going to have to retake some exams and retrain in that jurisdiction. Other than language barrier, there is really no other barriers to traveling the world in our industry. And it doesn't matter if you're under the sea, in restaurants, or whether you're 40,000 feet in the sky on a luxury aircraft, it's still hospitality. And so we are literally in the air, under the sea, on the sea, and on the land, and globally. So the opportunities are endless.
Absolutely. I think when we start talking about customer service and customer experience, more often than not, people think about hospitality as a top of that's what it is. And actually, in hotels, we've had standards for so many years, whereas there isn't really any standard in any other industries, really, when you think about it. Whereas a hotel, you've got your 4, 5-star, 3 stars, you've got your bed and breakfast. So there's always been a kind of standard in the hospitality industry, isn't it?
Yeah, standards, commercial standards from that standpoint, but also I think we're under never-ending scrutiny on a 24-hour-a-day basis. Things like TripAdvisor and Good Bad Business in Jersey. Imagine Good Bad Business for your accountant, or or TripAdvisor for your doctor. This industry is constantly being scrutinised by every single person that's in it, and so we have the standards to commercially, and we've got the standards and management of consumer expectations at the same time. So we are constantly being scrutinised. I don't think you have any room to be able to hide. I think there's very little that you can keep commercially to yourself. And so from that standpoint, our industry is very unique.
What do you think the challenges? So let's go and jump into a couple of the challenges that Jersey has on a broad level, Marcus. Let's not go too deep.
You can't see hand motions in a podcast. Just imagine my hands.
We are a small island. We should be able to do customer experience in a much higher level way, potentially. What do you think would be the biggest challenge that we have to deliver consistently great service?
I think we've lost our way at being a small island.
Okay.
I think we spend a lot of time thinking that we're not a small island, that we're a very big, complicated place with millions of people and huge government structures and layers of bureaucracy. And I think that's what's slowly eating away at the true DNA and what made our island a beautiful place. And I think we're starting to see that from a desire to say, how do we be more Jersey again? How, was our Brexit moves the correct thing to do, or maybe not? How are we dealing with, dare I say it, how are we dealing with ferry tenders? How are we dealing with purchasing? Where's our supply chain come from? Are we supporting local ingredients? Do we speak Jerrier? Are we going to have our own song, national song? There's just a lot of questions. And I think one of the big things that really raised the red flag for me was the situation with the Jersey Reds. And I'm a rugby fan, so I'd be open about that. But you'd go up and you'd watch the games every weekend, and there were a decent number of people up there, but it wasn't until you got right to the end of the tournament and into the final that suddenly everybody appeared. And I thought to myself, that's not really a good sense of community pride about your sports team, that they only want to be there at the final. And after living in America for 12 years before, one of the key things they do when a community is not engaging is to build a stadium and put a sports team into that community, because everybody starts wearing the shirt and everybody starts singing the tunes and everybody comes together a little bit. And I look at our island. I mean, I grew up here. Neither of my parents are born here. My mum was born in England. My father is Italian. And my mum's family had the connection that my grandfather had Jersey cows as a herd in the UK. So had this kind of love of the island. Hospitality is what brought my father here. But I'm born here, and I kind of look at it. And when I was growing up, we were population of sub 50,000. Now we're a population of just over 100,000. We've still got kind of 30-ish, 40-ish thousand that are probably local, and a lot of people who are transient. And then how do we engage that community to have a sense of island pride? How do we showcase what's truly Jersey? How do we, scream to the rest of the world about what's unique about our island? And if we don't, then for what reason do you have to come here? Yeah,
absolutely. I've been reading a lot on communityship. And so we talk a lot about leadership, but actually we need to bring communityship back into our community and bring that sense of everything that surrounds it, whether it's within a hotel environment, that's a community by itself, whether it's the island, whether it's the government, whether, all those bodies, they're all communities in one, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, you look at you guys in France, are incredibly proud of your region, the food of the region. When you travel through France and you go to a market, you'll see very regional food. You've only got to drive an hour and a half, and some of that food has changed. And the same in Italy and the same in Spain. Are we that proud of our local food? Are we that diehard that we don't want to serve the food from the next door area? I mean, we don't have an area because we're this small island. But, I think we've lost our way with being very proud about what makes us uniquely Jersey. And I'm not comfortable, and I'm quite happy to say on here, I'm not comfortable being a bolt-on of Westminster. I think we are uniquely Jersey. We're not French mainland, European mainland. We're not UK. We're this special thing in the middle. And I think the more special we can be, the more special we are for people to come and visit us as well.
Definitely. I think it's what makes Jersey the attractive to it. And that's, that Jersey brand that we talk about. I think, when we talk about the customer experience and, the service that we deliver to our tourists, for example, and then when they go back home, where's that brand Jersey going? People really want to come back because it was just so amazing that, the brand itself sells itself or not.
I think we look at the culture of service, I think, is an interesting thing to look at. And mainland Europe and the professional level of service and hospitality and how that's looked at as a career path and how it's looked at in the UK, and particularly, I think, almost worse where we are at the moment in Jersey, where it's almost looked at as a stepping stone industry or something that you temporarily go into, or even worse still, you've ended up in hospitality because you weren't clever enough to do something else. As somebody with an Ivy League degree in the industry, I find that pretty offensive. People are here that have studied incredibly hard at world-leading universities like Lausanne and other ones from around the world. And I think there's a huge lack of understanding of what it takes to be a leader in our industry. And the UK has a very kind of slightly upstairs, downstairs mentality that is still lingering from historical days of to serve somebody is undermining yourself. Whereas if you go to mainland Europe, to be a head waiter or a general manager is an extremely prestigious job. And I love going. One of my favourite things to do is to go and speak to school kids. And we spend a lot of time with school kids. I find school kids far more engaging than talking to adults, actually. But it's
that's another story.
Maybe that's probably my mentality. But I say to them, can you name me? I always start off, it doesn't really matter if they're 18 or if they're 11. Can you name me a famous accountant? And they look at you in a pretty kind of bizarre way. Can you name me a famous lawyer? And they still look at you in a strange way. Who's this? And I'll pull up a picture of Jamie Oliver. And they'll go, that's Jamie Oliver. Next slide. Oh, that's Gordon Ramsay. Next slide. Oh, that's Richard Branson. I said, those guys aren't poor, are they? And they look at you and the face drops. And actually, it's not just the kids. It's the career advisors as well that suddenly go, wow, I've been thinking that actually hospitality is minimum wage and a temporary stepping stone, but he's got a slide of a billionaire up there that's made his money in this industry. And it doesn't take long to go into Bill Marriott and Baron Hilton and all these kind of guys. I think we've just lost our way on island with it. And it is strange to me because post having all of our eggs in the agriculture basket, we put all of our eggs into the hospitality and tourism basket. And this basket is a very tippy object in this island because all of the eggs have rolled into the financial services basket. And I think the sooner we can balance those baskets back out again and give our future generations the opportunities in multiple industries to be able to carve their own career paths and be their own people, the better this island will be, not only for them, but also for everybody from a quality of life.
Inspiring the youngest to kind of come in the industry. I remember 40 years ago, you were saying, I did my catering school as well in Nice.
Just to clarify, that wasn't me saying anything 40 years ago.
40 years ago. And I had to do an exam to go in to actually got it. And I remember being in my dad's restaurant, jumping up and down because I'd been accepted to go to catering school and did my catering school, my hospitality. And I was so proud of it. And it was 3 years of being so proud because I'd been chosen and, I knew that was the path I wanted to. And that's that feeling of it. I still remember it, and I'm still so passionate about it. And, I think we all do. You have to have that passion. And you see it, those hoteliers on the island, which have been going on for years and families. We've got families and families who are running hotels and the Dolans, the Seymours,
the Lewises, the Morvans. They're all, it's, I remember the same feeling. I was accepted into Cornell on early decision. You had a 1 in 800 chance of getting a place, and went and did a 4-year degree there. And that's a 4-year Ivy League degree that's not, by any means about bartending and carrying plates and washing dishes and cleaning toilets. This is human resources. I did human psychology in hospitality environments, architecture, accountancy, law in hospitality, facilities management. These are classes that are at Ivy League level being taught, but focused on the hospitality industry. So the career opportunities, many of my classmates went to work for Ernst & Young in finance and hospitality, or into large real estate development companies building hotels and resorts, or a couple of friends who are lawyers. One guy who is the treasurer of the state of Nevada. And, so we've got a very, very diverse group out of our one class, but all focused on hospitality.
So how do you, if we come back to Jersey Hospitality Association, how does the association support the businesses, local businesses, with raising customer service standard or CX standards?
So we've been spending a lot of time, I think, since you left. As you know, we've restructured completely. We've broken the association down into subsectors. We've helped rewrite a visitor economy strategy for the island. We've got a whole new board that focus on those subsectors, and really, a lot of that was about drawing attention to the fact that there's so many subsectors and our industry is so diverse. A lot of that was giving the voice for each of those subsectors to be able to be heard, to, as a communication flow, but also for government to be aware of the fact that the differences of needs and demands of the hotel subsector compared to the transport subsector are vast. They're two completely different, in most people's minds, industries, but they're one part of hospitality. So we've been building up, how do we support each subsector for the needs that subsector has? And when it comes to customer service, you actually realise that it is across all industries and all subsectors. One of the first people that reached out to us about customer service training was actually in our transport subsector, and they were saying, we deal with enormously high net worth individuals and their private jets and all the rest of it, and I need help training my team in customer service. So I think a lot of the time we don't even really realise where the question or the need or the demand might come from, because our industry is so diverse. You would assume that customer service is the front of house people in a restaurant or a hotel, but actually no, it's somebody that's dealing with private jets. So we'd very much tailor, a bit like we do in hospitality every day, the service that we deliver back to our members now on an almost individual basis as to what do they need. And even when you look at a hotel, many hotels are very, very different business structures and setups and operations from one another. The setups and operational entities of high-end luxury smaller boutiques compared to limited service urban hotels is a completely different business model, different number of employees, different kind of level of customer service. But I think it is hugely important that we leave the customer feeling happy, fulfilled, over-delivering. So I think under promise, over-deliver is a hugely important thing across the board. And whether it's a local that's coming in or whether it's a visitor coming to our island, it's our job to make sure that they leave with a good feeling.
How do you think the impact on the kind of staff shortage, and actually the role of training the development plays in enhancing that? So, if we are short on staff, how do we make sure that our staff are trained, the ones that are there are trained? And sometimes, I've seen it. You've got one person which is so fabulous because they're on the ball, they're in there, and then you could be going into another place and they've got 10 people for doing the same job. But that person is so good and so productive and so everywhere that you just want.
You were talking about government and private sector there for a second. No, I think we're in a really interesting transitional period, I think, in our industry, because staffing is a challenge, recruitment is a challenge, rising costs make that even more of a challenge. Automation, I think, is about to play a huge role. Tech is kind of developing much further. People's expectations of what is service and the impact that COVID had on people's expectations has changed us all, and there's nowhere to deny that or hide it. So what is service and what is quality service nowadays, I think, is quite an interesting question. And people are accepting of a completely different level of service than they were before. And so to me, it's about how do we deliver the right service for the business and make sure that that is good, and what is good for that service. I mean, I've stayed in multiple hotels now where you come into interaction with maybe one employee or maybe even none. So you can check yourself in on your phone, you unlock your door on your phone, you enter the building on your phone, you check out on your phone, you never come into contact with anybody. If you kind of came up with that idea back to my grandparents' days of going to a hotel, they would think that was insane. You're going to a hotel to be greeted by a doorman and waiter service and have your bags carried and all the rest of it. So we've changed, and our industry changes fast. I mean, unbelievably fast. I think faster than any other industry. We are hugely dynamic when it comes to a change in demand and expectation from a consumer. I think we all saw that, whether we work in this industry or not, during the pandemic. The speed at which restaurants changed out and suddenly had barriers between tables and the way service was being done, and dealing with human-to-human interaction, which is innately what we do, during a global pandemic, while we were all thinking actually going anywhere near another human potentially is going to kill us. It's not a great place to be when you're a business owner in this industry, but the industry changed fast. And what I think is amazing is our staff, wherever we are, just wake up the next morning and come on in, and they accept these changes, and they retune how they operate, and they put their heart and soul back into it, roll their sleeves up and get on with it, and deliver service again, normally, most of the time, with a smile on their face. And actually, when we look at the psychology of that as humans, why are these people smiling? Why are you going to work to interact with people who could potentially be giving you a virus that you're being told is going to kill you? You're surrounding yourself with them, smiling them and welcoming them to be in there with you. I mean, it was a very, very strange time, and goodness, hopefully it never happens again. But we never say never in this industry. I call COVID my third train wreck in my career.
Well, I mean, I think service with a smile, and you bring that service with a smile comes up with a little campaign we're actually running at the moment, Give Service a Smile, where I've been giving little pins to everybody that have been nominated.
Big French smiles, that's all the way.
Big French smiles. So, that's really a beautiful way to kind of end the podcast today. I really appreciate. If there was something that you would want to see in Jersey that, could actually elevate the experience, what kind of things you'd like to see coming up in the next couple of years? How can we really kind of elevate that experience for our locals, for our visitors, and so really kind of we get that real energy on the island?
So I think my big mission with the work that we're doing now is, I'm not even going to say break down barriers, I'm going to say smash down barriers, because we are too good at creating bureaucracy and rules that limit people's ability to be creative. And what I would love to see is entry into this market, confidence in this market, investment in it, new businesses opening up, and a true understanding and appreciation that actually this is a great career path, and that this island is an amazing island and should be a shining hub of hospitality globally, without a doubt. I would like to see tourists coming from much further afield. To me, the Asian and the American market is our target future market for this island. And goodness, I'm going to go out of this podcast on a ludicrous statement. I'd love to see people visiting the Channel Islands and the surrounding Normandy area of France as one destination.
Yeah.
We don't travel to specific islands in the Bahamas. We go to the Bahamas or the Caymans or the Virgin Islands. Why are we Jersey versus Guernsey? We should be welcoming people from around the world to the Channel Islands.
I love that. Thank you very much, Marcus. It was just fabulous having you here.
Pleasure.
And I look forward to seeing what's happening next, and continue sharing your smiles as well.
Well, I hope everybody's smiling and you give lots of badges away.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
For more on creating exceptional customer service for your business, head to clarebosque.com. Listen to more episodes of The Shine on CX Show wherever you get your podcasts. The Shine on CX Show.